Hello everyone, this is Arpit Chaturvedi and very warm welcome to my YouTube channel Biological. So this is the last video of the series that are going on in the biophysics section, that are the flow cytometry and the basic application of the flow cytometry. So in this video we will be discussing about the cell cycle study. Like we will get to know that how we can study about the cells that are in the cell cycle. And first of all we will briefly discuss about the cell cycle, the phases of the cell cycle, and then we will get to know that how flow cytometry is helpful in the study of cell cycle. Okay, so let's start the video. So before discussing the use of flow cytometry in the cell cycle study, we must know that what cell cycle actually is. Okay, so let's see the definition of the cell cycle. Then cell cycle refers to the series of events that take place in a cell resulting in the duplication of DNA and division of cytoplasm. So basically what cell cycle is actually when one cell divides into two using mitosis or meiosis. There are certain steps, certain intermediate steps that these cells perform, and like the duplication of the DNA. First of all, that cell will go in a resting state, or cell will grow enough so that it can duplicate or it can divide into two. Then the DNA replicates into two. That once if the content of the DNA is N in the G1 phase, then in the S phase it will be replicated and become twice as present in the G1 phase. So in the S phase, the synthesis of new DNA, that is the replication of DNA, takes place. Hence in the G2 phase that comes after the S phase, it contains twice the amount of DNA that was present in the G1 phase. Okay, this phase we will get to know about these phases in the next slide, that what these phases are. But basically the cell cycle is the series of events that occurs during the division of one cell into its daughter cells. Okay, the cell cycle is 4-stage process in which the cell increases in size, that is gap 1 G1 stage, copies its DNA, that is synthesis or S phase, then prepares to divide G2 phase, then divides in mitotic phase. So these are the phases that are involved in the completion of the cell cycle. So if we try to look at the diagram of this, then this cell cycle starts from here. Like when cells, after the cytokinesis or after the completion of one division, the cell enters into the G1 phase. This G1 phase is the growth phase. That basically, that if the cell is not grown enough, that how would it divide into daughter cells? So the growth of cells is very important. So this growth takes place in the G1 phase. This is the longest phase. Then after that the DNA synthesis takes place, that is the X amount of DNA is present in the cell, then it will be duplicated or it will be replicated to 2x, that will be twice in the concentration that were present in the G1 phase. Okay, why? Because this step is necessary, because after this the cells is going to divide, like cytokinesis will occur after this. Okay, but there are the amount of DNA must be present twice as present in the G1 phase. Okay, then the G2 phase comes after the S phase, that is the cell growth. Okay, after the DNA synthesis takes place, that is DNA is replicated, the cell starts growing again or starts preparing itself for the next stage, that is the mitotic phase. In mitotic phase, the division of the nuclear material, that is chromosomes, takes place in such a way that it goes from it divides from one cell to two cell. Okay, that is known as karyokinesis. And after that cytokinesis takes place, that is the division of cytoplasmic material of the cell from 1 into 2. Okay, mitosis also involves several steps in between that we are not going to discuss in this video. Basically, this cycle goes on that once cells complete cytokinesis, it will re-enter into the G1 phase and start the next cycle of division. Okay, that's why it is called as cycle, and as the cell is involved, that is why it is called as cell cycle. Okay, so how do we know that the cells that are present in a suspension solution are in G1, are in S, or are in G2, or are in M phase? So here comes the use of flow cytometry. Like, the cells are dividing asynchronously. Okay, asynchronously means that there are some cells that are in G1, there are some cells that are in S, and there are some cells that are in S phase and M phase. So these are this type of division is known as asynchronous. That the suspension solution will be asynchronous. Then how would we get to know that if the particular cell is in G1, S, or G2? So here comes the role of flow cytometry. What are the different ways by which we can detect this? So let's discuss the first by DNA content estimation. Okay, as we know that in the G1 the DNA content would be X. Okay, then in the G2 the DNA content would be 2X. 2x the amount, X is the amount of DNA that is present in the G1, and 2x is the amount of twice the amount of DNA that is present in the G1. Okay, so in the S phase the amount of DNA would be intermediate between the G1 and G2. Okay, the amount of DNA would be intermediate between the between G1 and G2. So this we can use in the estimation, or this we can use in detecting that whether the cells is in G1, G2, or S. Okay, so how we can do that? We use some dyes that possess intercalative binding property. Intercalative binding property means like the DNA double helix structure that are forms of three, that are nucleotides. That nucleotides contains nitrogenous base, phosphate, and ribose sugar. So when the bases are arranged like this, they are stacked, then the intercalating dye enters in between these stacked bases, and that dye possess fluorescence activity. So once these dye intercalate in between the nitrogenous bases, we will get to know that the amount of DNA is this. Okay, because the amount of stain is directly proportional to the amount of DNA within the cells. It is obvious that the amount of DNA, the more the amount of DNA, the more the number of nitrogenous bases, and more the number of nitrogenous bases, the more the space will be available for the dye to intercalate in between the nitrogenous bases. Okay, so some dyes possess the intercalative binding properties such as propydium iodide, whereas other present as an affinity for AT rich regions. There are certain AT rich regions, and dye such as DAPI has the affinity for the AT rich regions in the DNA, and some dyes like chromomycin A3 has the affinity for the GC rich regions. Okay, so these are the different regions, or these are the different places like where we can use these dyes to stain the DNA. The basic principle is the amount of stain is directly proportional to the amount of DNA. Okay, and how we will get to know that the amount of stain is this or this? Here comes the flow cytometry. The cells are treated with fluorescence dye that stains DNA quantitatively. Okay, the quantitatively means like more the DNA, the more stain will be in a cell. Okay, and the greater amount of fluorescence or the greater intensity of fluorescence will determined by the flow cytometry. Okay, the greater the fluorescence, the greater the number of, or the greater the concentration of DNA in the cell. Okay, so we will get to know that the major fluorescence or the most fluorescent cell will be those cells that are in G2 phase. Okay, and least would be in G1, and intermediate would be in S phase. Okay, so amount of fluorescent intensity of a stained cell at certain wavelengths will therefore correlate with the amount of DNA they contain. So we can develop, or we can draw a graph using this. Like, these are the cells that are in G1 phases that are showing the minimum amount of fluorescence. Okay, and there are cells that are present in the G2 phase that are showing the maximum amount of fluorescence, that the maximum the concentration of DNA, the maximum the amount of fluorescence. Okay, and there are certain cells that are present in the S phase that are showing the intermediate amount of fluorescence. Okay, the intermediate amount of DNA that are present. Okay, these are certain dyes that are written here, like bromodioxyuridine and DAPI and propydium iodide, that I have discussed already, and I will get the next. I will be discussing about the bromodioxyuridine. Okay, so the second method by which we can determine that the particular cell is in G1 phase, G2 phase or S phase, and this is the accurate method for the determination, is the incorporation of the thymidine analog bromodioxyuridine. The bromodioxyuridine is the thymidine analog. Like if the DNA contains thymidine, then after replication, if bromodioxyuridine is present, it will get incorporated at the sites where thymidine were present earlier. Okay, so it is obvious that it will not be present in the G1 cells, it will only be present after the S cells. Once the synthesis of new DNA takes place from X2 to X, then this BRDU will get incorporated at the site of the thymidine. Okay, and in this technique, BRDU is incorporated into a newly synthesized DNA in cells entering through S phase, through the S phase of the cell cycle. The incorporated BRDU is then stained with the specific fluorescent labeled anti-BRDU antibodies, and the levels of association is measured using flow cytometry. So where the flow cytometry is playing a role, this is BRDU, and this BRDU is fluorescently tagged with the anti-BRDU antibodies. Okay, this BRD is anti-BRDU antibodies are fluorescently tagged this BRDU. So by the incorporation of the BRDU, we will get to know the certain amount of BRDU is incorporated. So we will as the concentration or as the fluorescence increase of the, or as the affinity or as the number of antibodies increase that are associated to the DNA, we will get to know that the cells are moving from S phase to G2 phase. So by this we can estimate the progression of cell cycle. Okay, so I hope this video might be helpful for you. Thank you so much. This is Arpit Chaturvedi, and you can find me at biological1116@gmail.com. Thank you so much.